Welcome back, everybody. I know it's been so long. A lot has been going on, and so I am sitting in our new house, and so it's a little bit echoey. This is a very tall ceiling, and we have nothing in here yet. Just bear with me. If you are new here or if you're returning and you forgot who I am, my name is Rachel Gonzalez. I am a recovering perfectionist, just trying to become more like Jesus and live in God's perfect will for my life. I have been MIA for the past month because we found some people to rent our old house. We did not sell our house, but we did find some people to rent. So that is really helping with the mortgage there. And we moved into our new house. And so I just kind of wanted to give an update on how that went, what that was like. Obviously, I did not have enough time to be making videos or anything else really, but now my kids are in daycare. We have completely moved out of our old house, and I've spent the majority of today kind of running errands and putting some things away. I know that when my family gets home tonight, they're going to be like, "Did you do anything today?" Because me as a packer and unpacker is like, I start in one room and I'm putting stuff in a box or I'm unpacking from a box. And then I go, oh, this needs to go to another room. And then when I go to that room, I get distracted by whatever is going on in there. So I'm not a very efficient packer or unpacker. However, I do feel like I got a lot done today. So I'm just giving myself praise for that. Um, anyway, it was probably right about a month ago when I stopped making videos, that we got an offer on our house to rent, and I wanted to talk about that because God's hand was in it, and I just feel like it is a story worth sharing. So, our house was on the market for like 3 or 4 months, and it's not really a seller's market at this time. Maybe it is for some houses, but our house is, it's a bigger house and um, has a lot of amenities, and so we want a high price for it, and so we weren't getting the offers that we wanted, and a couple people came to see it and stuff, but I think it just was probably out of their price range, or especially for like the interest rates at this time and stuff. So we were kind of like, well, let's just put it on the market for rent and see how it does. And this was right after Lent. So for Lent, if you remember, I gave up social media. And so I was really trying to get more into the word by replacing social media with Jesus. And during that time, I read all four Gospels of the Bible, which are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And I read them kind of out of order just because we were watching The Chosen, and I really wanted to. I started with Matthew, and then I think I went to John after, because those are the two people on the show who are really like the storytellers. And so I started with those two. And then I read Luke and then Mark last. And so while I was reading that, I was also attending a Bible study at a fellow churchgoer's home, and just some women getting together reading the Bible, and we also were reading through parts of Matthew. And so one of the things that we came across while we were doing our reading is that when Jesus spoke to certain people, especially his disciples, there are a lot of places where it says immediately something occurred, or at once they did what he asked, right? And so I'm going to share from Matthew 4. It's Matthew 4. It's in verse 20. And I'll read 18, 19, and 20, because it says, as he was walking along the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers. So that's Simon, who is called Peter, and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. Follow me, he told them, and I will make you fish for people. Immediately they left their nets and followed him. So one of the things that we talked about, this was on April 4th, so right after Lent, like just a few days after Lent was over, we were speaking about this passage and how, I have it circled here, immediately. Like he said, follow me. And immediately they dropped their nets and they went. And, so often I feel like we are called to do things, or we are given promptings, and we like look for signs, and we are waiting and waiting and waiting. And, um, God wants us to act immediately, right? Like, and we should. And so that's one example here. There's another one in the book of Luke. And so, in this scene, there's a woman who has been bleeding for 12 years, and it says she had spent all she had on doctors. Sorry, this is Luke 8:43. And so she spent all she had on doctors, yet could not be healed by any. She approached Jesus from behind and touched the end of his robe. Instantly, her bleeding stopped. Who touched me? He asked, and then they all denied it. Peter said, Master, the crowds are hemming you in and pressing against you. And he says, someone did touch me. I know that power has gone out from me. When the woman saw that she was discovered, she came trembling and fell down before him. In the presence of all the people, she declared the reason she had touched him and how she was instantly healed. Daughter, he said to her, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. And in The Chosen, which we were watching, this scene is like so incredibly beautiful, because you see her and she's bleeding, and she's like so desperate, and she's like, I know that man can heal me, right? And so he doesn't get mad at her. He just is like, okay, like, go in peace, because you had such faith that you are healed, And again, you see the word instantly, like it happened right, like her faith, she touched him, it happened right then and there. And the last just example, which like this is not by any means the only three examples in the Bible, but just some that I came across while reading the Gospels, was in the book of Mark. And it's in Mark 2, verse 12. And it says, before that, Jesus is, right away, Jesus perceived in his spirit that they were thinking like this within themselves, and said to them, why are you thinking these things in your heart? Which is easier, to say to the paralytic, your sins are forgiven, or to say, get up, take your mat, and walk? But so that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins, he told the paralytic, I tell you, get up, take your mat, and go home. And then this is the part, verse 12, where it says, immediately he got up, took the mat, and went out in front of everyone. As a result, they were all astounded and gave glory to God, saying, we have never seen anything like this. So in this scenario, you have some people who are, religious leaders, who care more about their law and religion than, helping others. And, Jesus just says, like, I'm just going to tell this person to get up and walk. The person immediately stands up, does what he says, and is healed. And so the reason that I'm telling you this is because I felt the call from God almost 2 years ago now to homeschool. And so, it was probably, yeah. So it was like 2 years ago when I was starting my principal certification that anyway, I'm trying to like formulate my thoughts exactly the way I want to say them. So I was starting my principal certification, and it was 2 years ago, because I did a year of that, and then this past year I did the assistant principal, which is what I got the certification for. So um, I was like having a lot of anxiety, and so just decided, to be praying about it and stuff. And so I felt called, and I remember distinctly the first time I said it out loud, I was talking to my brother and sister-in-law, and I went and I was at their house for something, and I said, hey, like, I think I might want to homeschool my kids. And they were like, you should, for sure. And I didn't expect to get that like reaction. And so it felt, I was like, okay, well, like, they think that I could do it, and it's, maybe I can. And so I remember telling Jose about it and stuff. And, I do plan to do a little bit more of a video specifically on deciding to homeschool. But as I prayed about it and I kept getting more confirmation that, like, yes, this is what I'm going to do. Um, Jose and I made the decision that, okay, well, in order to do that, I am going to have to work at least 1 year um, as an assistant principal or a principal because I'm getting my degree for that, right? Like I was already in the middle of getting my certification. I got certified and we decided it would be best for me to at least do 1 year. And going into that year, like last year, I was pretty sure that that's probably what's going to happen, but I wasn't positive. Like I still was kind of like, ooh, I don't know, can we afford it? This and that. We decided we probably need to put our house on the market. We bought this home because basically our thought process was if we buy this house now when the uh, interest rates are high, we can get a good deal on the home, and then hopefully later on it'll like increase in value, and then we can sell our house like later on at the height of the market, like when things come back. Well, we were under the impression, because it was said in December that uh interest rates were going to start decreasing, and that there was supposed to be like 6 drops in rates this year. And so we were really banking on that to happen, which it did not. It has not. And that was getting really scary. And so again, praying about it, all through Lent, reading the Bible, going to that Bible study, hearing, where it said immediately, immediately, immediately. I told Jose, I said, look, it's really scary that we don't have a buyer for our house, and it is hard paying 2 mortgages. I understand. However, I am going to follow through with quitting my job. And I had offhandedly said to some coworkers, one day, I was like, watch me like quit my job, and the next day we get an offer on our house. And it was a joke. But I kept like waiting and waiting. And I finally said, I just have to do it. I have to break the cord. I have to say, I am quitting this job and I'm going to be staying home full time. It still hasn't fully hit me yet that that's what I'm doing, but I put in my letter of resignation. I think it was April 30th. And the very next day, literally the next day, our real estate agent texted us and said, hey, we have an inquiry for a renter. And I told my husband, I said, this is the route that it's going to end up going. And he was like, well, don't get too excited. And I was like, no, because I made that comment that, the day after I quit my job, we're going to get some kind of offer. And I was hoping for an offer for like, somebody to buy the house, but God has plans. And I trust that, even though we're kind of losing money on the renter, because we are going to have to pay the taxes on the house out of pocket this year, I'm very hopeful that, God has the plan for what it's going to look like in the future and what selling that house or not selling that house is going to look like. And so, it was very scary. I quit my job, and immediately the next day we got the inquiry for the renter. They came that weekend, saw the house. There was some negotiations back and forth. It looked like it might fall through, but like I just knew, I'm like, no, like they're going to end up renting. And also my husband had some reservations just about renting and things like that. But, I was just like, we just need to keep praying about it, and God has it. God has the plan. So, we have spent the last, month, so that was probably like about 2 weeks, I think. Yeah. So like May 1st, we got the offer or the request. They came and saw it, decided, back and forth, negotiations, things like that. And then we started moving out of our house. And so, we've been doing that pretty consistently. We had some visitors. So we took a little break and stuff, but then we had our movers come on June 4th, and we had to be out by June 14th. So after the movers came and took all the big stuff, our couch, our dining room furniture, beds, washer, dryer, stuff like that, we started, really packing up like the cabinets and all of that stuff. And man, the stuff just kept coming. I don't know why we have all of the stuff that we have, but I can tell you this. We built our house that we moved out of with a lot of storage space, which is nice because it's stored away and you don't see it, and that's wonderful. But also, those storage cabinets get full, and they were very full. So a lot of things have gone to Goodwill. A lot of things have gone to my friends and family, just things that we don't need. Like, I don't know why we have 700 plastic containers, Um, and so I gave those away, and, like sheets for beds that we don't even have anymore. Just stuff like that is going. And so it's been kind of nice to really pare things down, but then also, every single day I was coming home with things that were being thrown away at the school, and I'm like, well, I can use this for homeschool. And Jose's like, please stop bringing things into this house that we have no storage space in. So, it's just, we're going from a lot of storage space to a little storage space, and we're having to be creative with that. But I think it's good. And, so we really have been moving over, and this last Saturday, June 15th, the renters moved in, and we are completely out of that house. We are fully living here now in our new home. And, it's been an okay transition. Our kids, like, we travel a lot with our kids, so they're pretty used to like sleeping places that are not home. But our middle son is having a little bit more trouble just with having like increased meltdowns, tantrums, just multiple times a day over things that are so minuscule. And I understand, like, obviously things to kids seem a lot bigger than they are to us, but he just hasn't always been like that. Like, he's dramatic, but he doesn't have tantrums the way he's been having them. So, um, it's very reminiscent of when we brought Eleanor home, when we had a baby, and he had a lot of trouble with that. So I think he just struggles with change a little bit more, but it's okay. We're helping him work through it. And, to be honest, we've moved a lot now. This is our fourth home together, mine and my husband's. And then we also have lived in an RV. We lived with his parents. So we've done a lot of moving, and this is the first time I've ever cried moving out of our home. And that's mostly because that was our dream home. Like, we really built that house with 10 to 20 years in mind at least, and just really thinking that that was going to be more of a long-term placement. I have learned with my husband, and now I guess with myself, because this was a lot of my idea, is just to never get comfortable and just not to imagine myself in a place for more than 2 years. So, I think I've said, we've joked about like, oh, in 2 years when we move, where are we going to go or whatever, but watch this be, we're here for the next 20. So we'll see what happens. But it is different, and it's not just the storage space. It's just having things that were set up the way that we designed them for specific reasons, like where the lights are located, like the switches. I like to have just one light switch for every light. I don't like having multiple. And so, having like one light switch up and one light switch down is like super annoying to me. Um, or, like, it takes a long time for the house to cool down because it's a very tall house, and so I'm hot a lot. And just things like that, where I'm like, I don't want to complain about our new house because I love it, but also, like, I loved our old house. Having the pool in the backyard, having the movie theater, like, just things like that, where it's like we really designed that home for ourselves, and now other people get to enjoy it. So um, anyway, I don't want to make this a super long video. I know, like I said, I've been MIA for a while, and I'm going to try not to be that way coming up. Hopefully I can start going back to once a week. I will say one thing about me that you have to know is when I put my mind to something and I make a goal, I will do it. Okay. However, if there's something that happens that causes me to get off track, I usually, it is more likely that I will give up on my goal. And so that I think has happened because there was a week that I missed in like March or April. And then when May came around and I was moving and ending school and, all of the things, um, I wasn't as gung ho or dedicated because I was like, well, I already missed that one. So, I already missed my goal. And so I think I'm just going to really, especially with this being the halfway point through the year, I'm going to be updating my goals and thinking more like a SMART goal that's like tangible. Because putting out a video every single week I just don't think it's possible for me because of how crazy my life is. I talked to at least 3 different people over the course of the last month while I've been moving that have said to me, like, you are always so busy. You're always doing something like moving, getting a certification, having a kid. You just always have to be like on the move and changing things and stuff. And it's so funny because as a perfectionist and as somebody who has anxiety, I don't like change. I grew up hating things when they changed. And now it's like, they're so right. Like, I'm constantly looking for the next thing, doing another thing. And I don't know why. I would like to rest, but over the past month, like I've been going to bed at 11 p.m., waking up at 5, and it's just a lot. So, um, I think that it would be very nice if at this point we could stay here for a while. I could get into a good groove of homeschooling my children and just have time to do fun things for myself, um, including making sourdough bread because I did start that like right before we started moving. And my husband during the move was just like, did you have to do this while we were moving? Because this is like a pretty big time commitment. And you're just like at 5 a.m. getting up and feeding your starter and making bread at 10 p.m. or whatever. And, he was right. I probably should have started that or taken that on during this time. But, you know, seize the day. You just have to, like when the urge struck, I had to do it because it like the starter that I bought had been sitting on my counter for 3 months and I saw it there when we were packing some stuff up and I thought I should just go ahead and start this now because if it's not now, it's never. And so I did. And so now I've been doing sourdough and that takes up a lot of time too. So um, luckily my kids will be in daycare until the end of this month, so I have the next couple of weeks to just get the house unpacked, be here while they're gone, which is, right now, and enjoy a little bit of summer before I never have a summer again. And I'm saying that like it's definitive that I will be doing this for the rest of my life, and I might not, but I also might. So I again like to imagine things for the long haul. So I'm, saying my goal is to homeschool them through high school and hopefully send them off to college that way. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And we're just going to take it one year at a time. So for now, we are happy to be officially moved into our new home. We are happy that the school year is over and that, I can do a little bit of relaxing before getting into the fall and really, really starting with the homeschooling. So, I do wonder what is going on in y'all's lives. And if you can, just drop a comment and tell me if you've had any major changes recently or anything that you are happy that hasn't changed recently. And I look forward to hearing all about those things. I'm going to also, I haven't been doing this, but I'm going to link my Instagram below and stuff that you can follow if you want to get alerts and things like that for my new videos. And then also make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can be alerted on YouTube as well. But I do plan to put out a video next week, so hopefully I will see you next week.